Luke Burbank gets the last word this morning. The last 3 words, to be precise.
This Wednesday is Valentine's Day. That special time once a year when a large portion of the U.S. population goes into complete panic, trying to figure out how to show their special someone that they do in fact love them and that they did not in fact just dig a card out of the back of the glove compartment on the way over. Even though Happy Holidays from your friends at Les Schwab Tires has clearly been crossed out and replaced with I love you. I love you. 3 simple words that can change the course of someone's entire day, but that can also be surprisingly hard to utter. Love ya, lots of love, and the now infamous I love you, man, just don't convey the same feeling. There's a layer of self-preservation to them, of leaving a side door slightly ajar in case you don't get the response you're looking for. Very few words leave the person uttering them more vulnerable than I love you. I've been thinking about these words a lot lately after reading an amazing piece in the Washington Post wherein the writer pointed out the way The Price is Right host Drew Carey ends every broadcast by looking directly into the camera and saying, I love you.
I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. See you next time. Bye.
These days, our lives, both personal and professional, tend to occur at a further and further distance, leading Americans to report feeling more isolated than ever before. We are a nation of people desperately in need of knowing somebody out there loves us. So this week, whatever elaborate romantic gestures you get up to or don't get up to, that's a whole other commentary, maybe take a moment to tell someone who needs to hear it, I love you. It costs you nothing and could mean everything to them. Maybe even more than a card that you definitely did not dig out of the back of the glove compartment on the way over.
We regret the things we don't do more than the things we do. It's not an uncommon observation and seems particularly apropos just ahead of Valentine's Day. Susan Spencer looks at romance and regret.
Strolling with her partner on the Brooklyn waterfront, writer Deborah Kopeikin looks happy and in love. But she admits to a few romantic regrets along the way.
I can't imagine a single human being alive today who has had at least one relationship who doesn't regret something.
Kopeikin, now 57, says one of her big regrets goes back to when she was just 22. So tell me the story of the one that got away.
Back in 1989, I was in Jamaica and I met a young man. And after a week together, I felt like I had fallen in love with him.
They briefly had to part ways, he to London to study theater, she to Afghanistan to cover the war. But they soon reunited for 10 romantic days in England.
I thought, this guy's it. I am in love. This is the relationship of my lifetime.
Alas, it was not to be.
He said he was going to come visit me in Paris 2 weeks later. And I was in my apartment waiting around. He never showed up.
What do you mean he never showed up?
He just never showed up.
Back then, of course, there were no cell phones, no internet.
He had a very common name, and it's not like you could find somebody back then with a common name, right?
So he's just gone.
He's gone. He's gone.
How did you react to this?
I mean, how would you react? I was sad. And I was also confused and heartbroken.
Do you think that romantic regret can last a lifetime?
Yes, I mean, we see people in their 80s, in their 90s with these romantic regrets. It sticks with people.
Romantic regret, like all regret, is universal, says Washington, D.C. author Daniel Pink.
Everybody has regrets. I mean, we have evidence from neuroscience, from social psychology, from cognitive science that the only people who truly don't have regrets are 5-year-olds. People with certain kinds of neurodegenerative diseases don't have regrets, and sociopaths don't have regrets. Everybody else has regrets.
For his book on the subject, Pink collected more than 26,000 regrets, many of them from the lovelorn.
So this is the database of the regrets. You see up here.
A vast inventory of unfulfilled love from 134 countries.
Not asking out a high school friend on a date. Look at this, high school.
High school is
53.
53. Yeah.
That's 35 years ago.
That's the most common regret, he says.
Yeah.
Not taking action.
I turned down a second chance at a relationship with someone I loved. She's 40. She lives in Maryland.
Yep.
Oh, dear.
Oh, here we go. How about this one right here?
Not telling her I loved her.
Exclamation point. 54-year-old man from Wisconsin.
We're interviewing an art critic who thinks that romantic regret is an underlying theme in much great art. But what's your take on that?
I think that it could be. I think that if it's painting or sculpture or works on paper, it could be another way to make sense of this feeling.
But that's the good thing about it, you know?
Jackson Arn is that art critic. He writes for The New Yorker.
If the premise is that romantic regret is universal, is art the proof of that?
I think art is the proof of that. No matter what else the painting is about, no matter what else the work of art is about, you can almost hear it humming underneath all the other melodies, so to speak.
He says that wistful humming can be heard all over the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where we met for our interview.
Rodin had a PhD in regret, as far as I'm concerned.
And it's not just Rodin. Examples through the ages are in museums all over the world.
It could be Edvard Munch falling in and out of love with an older married woman, and he turned the experience into a whole series of paintings called Love and Pain.
How about Edward Hopper? I mean, I think of those solitary figures, and something has happened there.
That's the thing. Something has happened. Maybe it's sexual, maybe it's romantic.
You also had picked a painting by Carrie James Marshall called Could This Be Love?
Could this be love? That's always the question, isn't it? We are seeing a romantic scene, but we don't know whether they're coming or going. We don't know if they're beginning an affair or if they're ending the affair. It could be love. It could be the end of love.
And you've even gone so far, I think, as to say that love and heartbreak might even be the main reason to make art.
Love has always been a great cause of pain, and art is sometimes the best therapy for it.
For Deborah Kopeikin, the best therapy is what she recommends in her book, Learn from Regret. That's what she did 21 years after her Paris heartbreak, when she finally tracked down the one that got away.
And I wrote an email and I said, hey, are you the same John Doe that stood me up in Paris back in 1989?
You jerk.
And he wrote back pages and pages saying, I did go to Paris. I arrived in Paris. I didn't have the piece of paper with your phone number on it. I ended up staying at a youth hostel, and I never found you again.
Movies have been made about this.
I know.
And Affair to Remember. This is exactly what happened to you.
I was looking up. It was the nearest thing to heaven. You were there. Oh, darling.
I love that movie.
You have a unique perspective on that movie.
Kopeikin and her old love reunited for lunch on a bench in Central Park. But unlike in the movies, they did not then ride off together into the sunset. Both were already married.
And it's not that I wanted to marry him. It's not that I wanted to blow up two families and, that would have been terrible, right? But it did make me understand what was lacking in my marriage. I realized at that moment that my marriage was faltering and I needed to get out of it.
Which brings us back to that Brooklyn waterfront. Now divorced and 35 years since Paris, Kopeikin has found true love with someone new, happier perhaps, because of her past regrets. No surprise to author Daniel Pink.
We have this emotion, regret, that makes us feel bad. So why would it be so ubiquitous? And it's because it's useful if we treat it right, and we haven't been treating it right. What we should be doing is looking it in the eye, acknowledging it, thinking about it, using it as data.
You can choose to decide whether you can use that regret as fuel. If you use regret to make changes, positive changes in your life, then regret is the best fuel in the world.
There's young love and not so young love. Here's Josh Seftel and his mom on Matters of the Heart.
When's the beauty parlor?
Friday.
Why do you do Fridays, so that you're ready for the weekend?
Of course.
I want to talk with you about Tinder.
The only thing I know about it is that they show faces of the people that want to meet other people, and they pick you by how you look.
If you swipe to the left, you skip the person, and if you swipe to the right, it means that you want to meet them.
I don't like it. I think if you want to meet somebody for a real relationship, that's not the way to do it. Some of the nicest, fun people may not always be the most attractive ones.
So, people use it mainly to hook up.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what that means?
To go out together.
Well, yeah, but hooking up means more than that.
Really? And you don't know anything about the person? They don't have a blood test? That's awful.
Younger people don't see it that way. They see it as normal now. That's how they meet people.
What a crazy world.
What would be the first thing you'd say to a stranger that you met on Tinder?
Your photograph appealed to me, but I have to be honest with you. I'm really not interested in a fast trip to the bedroom.
That seems fair. How does it feel to know that you would be getting swiped by people?
You feel like a piece of meat in the butcher case.
Would you try Tinder?
No.
Why not?
I'm not hooking up anymore. I mean, you could meet a pervert.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's just because they're handsome, like Ted Bundy wasn't bad looking.
How did you used to date?
People would see me and ask me out. I had a lot of dates. In high school, we used to have dances, and we would have a boyfriend for that week. And then when we went to the dance, we'd find another one. It was fun. With Dad, we were fixed up, and the first time I went out with him, I didn't even like him that much. And he really didn't like me. But something happened, and he asked me out a second time, and I really got to know him that time. And he was really funny and nice and polite, a medical student, a great dancer. And I really liked him.
How would you feel about meeting someone new?
I'm kind of used to my life now. It isn't that I wouldn't like to meet somebody, but I think it should be natural. I would want somebody to come up to me and say something like, I think it'd be fun. Let's go to a movie and dinner, that kind of thing. I would like that. But I want to tell you something. Men my age, they're looking for women 10 or 15 years younger than them. So a little bit of a dilemma.
So you don't want to date any oldsters?
Well, I don't want to take care of somebody.
What if they were really good looking?
It wouldn't hurt.
What if they were really rich and handsome?
How old?
90.
But are they nice?
What if they were rich, handsome, and nice?
It might be good while it lasts.
On the eve of this Valentine's Day, Josh Seftel and his mom are back, reminiscing.
Huh? Oops, what happened?
Hello? Wait. There I am.
Okay, it's the season for love. What do you think about when you hear the word crush?
Crush? When you have a crush on somebody else?
Why do they use that word?
I think you're kind of obsessed.
What does it feel like physically?
Physically? Who remembers physically? Your hormones are starting to work and you want to look pretty. I guess you think you might be in love.
Do you remember the first time you had a crush?
Yeah, I think so. Mervyn Aronoff. I thought he was cute. He was very smart and very sweet and very nice.
Did you pursue him?
I didn't have to. We used to go and have cherry Cokes together after school. The place where we went for Cokes was down the street from my best friend's house. And we'd talk about the soda shop and Mervyn, and then I'd go home.
Did you ever kiss, wait, what was his name?
Mervyn Aronoff. I kissed him once.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it like?
Icky.
Really? What happened when you guys split up?
I had another boyfriend.
Do you think Mervyn was upset when you started dating another guy?
Things didn't get serious in those days. You had a boyfriend for a couple of weeks, and then you had another boyfriend. And then 3 weeks later, you had another boyfriend. It was a long time ago, Josh. It feels so long ago that it feels like I'm telling you a story about somebody else.
Do you ever feel like he's the one that got away?
There was a couple there, but not him.
How does it make you feel to talk about this stuff?
It makes me feel old. It's kind of sweet. It kind of gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling. Makes you feel good.
What role do these kind of memories have in your life?
You know, I wouldn't think about this unless you brought it up. I mean, maybe I did once in a while.
Do you ever have crushes now?
Oh, maybe an orange crush. You never give up. Find me somebody. These men, if they're 80, they want a 65-year-old woman. Imagine how old the man would be that might find me attractive. I don't need that trouble. Maybe a puppy. Or maybe just the way I am is the best. I'm pretty happy with my life.
I would like to make a plea here. Can we get rid of Valentine's Day as a holiday? I know it's February and most of the country could use a distraction from the fact that winter may never end, but the best we can do is Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is a holiday about love. We have to cram love into one day. Have we become that self-absorbed as a culture that we have to set aside one day a year to remember to love someone?
Oh, that's right. I should let my wife know I love her.
If you need the reminder, it's probably too late. Will you be my Valentine? What does that even mean? Who was this Saint Valentine anyway? I assume the patron saint of bad gifts, because that's how we express our love on Valentine's Day. I'm sure I'm not alone in finding those pajamagram commercials just creepy.
Get a soft and snuggly hoodie footy for your Valentine.
I ordered you some PJs over the internet.
We also give greeting cards on Valentine's Day. How personal.
I guess that's something I'd say. I'll just add my name here. See what that other person wrote about how I feel about you?
You can also give your Valentine a heart-shaped box filled with those Gamble chocolates. Have you ever eaten a chocolate from one of those boxes with any confidence? Darn, I got the one filled with toothpaste. Now I have to eat another 9 to get rid of that flavor. Or those tiny heart-shaped chalk antacids. I know I make you nauseous. Here's a Tums with Hug Me written on it. When you're single, Valentine's Day is brutal. It's a reminder that you are alone. Here's a day to celebrate love and romance, that thing absent from your life. Singles on Valentine's Day are the vegans at the steakhouse. Boy, everyone sure seems to be enjoying their steak. Valentine's Day is not much better when you're part of a couple. I am happily married, but I view Valentine's Day as another opportunity for me to fail. For my family, for my friends and relatives, it becomes a litmus test on the status of my relationship. That's what you got her for Valentine's Day? Pretty typical. Well, how about this? I'm announcing right here on the CBS Sunday Morning show that I love you, Jeannie Gaffigan. Will you be my Valentine? That's good, right? Hopefully. Maybe I should order the pajamagrams. Ugh.
When it comes to aphrodisiacs, New York chef Mark Forgione is something of a love guru. This Valentine's Day, his menu's a booster shot for passion and desire.
After about 70 courses, you'll have 25 different aphrodisiacs.
So you should be ready to go.
We hope so.
An early course, a special parfait starring that prima aphrodisiac, the oyster, along with lesser-known aphrodisiacs like apples, horseradish, and beetroot.
The beets help to relax your mind and your body and your soul and kind of get you ready.
That wasn't bad. Should we go get a room? Just kidding.
And see, and that's only 4 aphrodisiacs. Imagine when we're up to 11 or 12.
You'd be surprised how many things are considered aphrodisiacs.
Almost anything that exists has been considered and tried as an aphrodisiac over time, from ambergris to zebra tongues, and a very long list in between.
What does that say about us?
Aphrodisiacs are bounded only by our imaginations, which thankfully are more fertile than the bodies we're trying to stimulate.
Meryl Rozovsky is a physician who teaches food studies at New York University.
Aphrodisiacs have been around for millennia. We all have the biological imperative to secure a meal and a date.
Some pretty famous lovers populate aphrodisiac lore. Cleopatra seduced with milk baths and rose petals. Legend has it the Aztec ruler Montezuma downed 50 cups of chocolate before visiting his harem. And then there was Casanova.
One of his favorite tricks was to seduce a young virgin by slipping raw oysters through her parted lips.
What makes something an aphrodisiac? It starts with the name itself. Aphrodite was the goddess of love in Greek mythology. When she sprang from the sea on a shell, lots of seafood became sherbets. In the Middle Ages, would-be lovers identified aphrodisiacs thanks to something called the law of similarities,
which was a medieval philosophy that held that in God's universe, something declared its usefulness through its shape, through its appearance. If something looked virile and phallic and strong and erect, that it might confer those very properties on whoever consumed it.
Take asparagus and carrots. You get the idea. True believers also point to chemicals like capsaicin in chili peppers and PEA in chocolate. But big picture, the scientific evidence, let's just say, is thin. You know that expression, love is in the air? Back at his restaurant, Mark Forgione starts his Valentine's dessert course with a spritz, a mystery fragrance for a romantic guessing game.
Now I would be doing this. Now we're creating something sensual between each other.
To Rachel Hers, author of The Scent of Desire, it's okay for the ladies to offer up their wrists.
But it would be a lot better from an attraction perspective if I got to put a dab on the man I was with and then smell him.
Why is that?
Well, that's because actually scent matters much more to women than to men in terms of attraction. And in fact, for women, it's the #1 physical feature in a man that says yes or no.
And despite what those Axe ads would have us believe, Rachel Hers says that in the realm of scent, just as with food, there are no proven aphrodisiacs.
Except for if you personally have a smell that you find erotic or arousing, and therefore it's a scent aphrodisiac for you.
But for ladies thinking long-term, Hers argues that men's colognes mask what a woman really needs to smell: a man's natural scent and the biological information it contains.
The genetics of your immune system are manifested by your body odor, and that means that everyone also has a unique body odor. And what a woman is doing when she is sniffing a man is she is sensing whether or not the immune system of that man is complementary to her immune system, and therefore most likely to yield a healthy child.
A match truly made in evolutionary heaven. For all that, Hers says, as a species, we're gullible about what turns us on.
It's learned, and just because it's learned doesn't make it not real. So if I have an association to roses that means romance for me, then it's romance for me. And if that works for you, it works for you, and that's the most important thing.
But it's all up here.
It's all up here. It's all here and here.
After all, as Dr. Ruth Westheimer once observed, the brain may be the biggest sex organ of all.
Very often, thinking something is an aphrodisiac may well make it so. The power of our imagination cannot be underestimated in the world of aphrodisiacs.